It is 9 o'clock, so we are ready to begin our cooking class, our live cooking with the veg coach. And I welcome you wherever you are. And if you join in later, awesomeness, thank you for joining us here. And it's my kitchen. My name is, as you can see, Ellen Jaffe Jones. I am the veg coach and the broccoli rep, because who else is? We're going to be doing 2 recipes tonight, and I just wanted to invite you to ask questions in the Q&A on the side if you want, and I'll be checking there from time to time to see if you do have any questions as we prep all this food. We have just a ton of food over here for the 2 recipes that I'm going to be doing from Kitchen Divided. So I am the author of that book, Kitchen Divided, as well as Eat Vegan on $4 a day, and Kitchen Divided, which I wrote because my husband is not vegan, and I just wanted people who are in that situation, and there's a whole lot more of those than you would ever imagine. I hear from them all the time, and I just wanted to create recipes that could help people not feel like a short order chef. So Paleo Vegan I wrote because I'm a runner, and that's my little Garmin GPS watch, and I started hearing about 5 years ago some of my running friends were going paleo, and as I read some of the books just to kind of stay current on the literature, I thought, wow, this is kind of like Atkins and all the other high protein diets like South Beach and the Zone diet, just repackaged and redone. So I wrote the vegan interpretation of paleo, which in my mind, it seemed to be that we weren't able to catch a wild boar 3 times a day, and we were really way more gatherers than hunters. And I wrote a lot of front matter for the book, and you can read all about the hows and the whys, but mainly just suffice it to say that National Geographic magazine apparently agreed with me back in September. They had a cover story called The Real Paleo Diet, and it was about how we were way more gatherers than we were hunters. So as I was sort of saying before we were getting warmed up and hit the 9 o'clock hour, this is definitely a low-key kind of class, as I didn't publicize it very much, so those of you who are on it are probably from Google+, and I just can't believe my phone. Okay, sorry about that. An unknown, who is that? All right, you are going away. All righty. Anyway, so where were we before we were so rudely interrupted? So I was at Get Healthy Marshall this past weekend, actually Health Fest. It used to be called Get Healthy Marshall, and this is the brochure from it, and lots of speakers. You might recognize T. Colin Campbell, and there were just so many great people. Rich Roll, who is an ultra marathon runner, lots of wonderful, wonderful speakers at that event. And then I just got back from that yesterday, and then this weekend I'm going to the Tallahassee Veg Fest. So, you know, I'm a little tired and a little busy, so I really haven't had the energy to put into this class like I have, like in the past classes that I've done. And you may have noticed that last week at 9 o'clock, there was no cooking class because I was really getting busy, ready to travel. But I did want to just do a couple of recipes with you tonight, and just wanted to let you know that you are welcome to ask any questions as we go along here, and hopefully I will be able to see them. Now that I got to meet with Stephanie Red Cross at Get Healthy Marshall and at the Health Fest, she actually looked, we did a Google Hangout together. She couldn't understand why I wasn't hearing questions either. Sorry. I actually have my phone turned off, but it's ringing through my laptop. You know, all the technology, it's really great when it works, but sometimes it's just way too many bells and whistles, and I have enabled iCloud on my laptop, so apparently I was getting the rings. All right, so hopefully I have disconnected that person forever, although it's coming through as unknown, so Who knows who that is? All right, so the first recipe we are going to do is the dandelion salad with beets. And dandelions I chose because, you know, it's springtime, and if you don't have dandelions yet, you might have them. And dandelions are actually really considered a delicacy in some parts of the world, and they're very popular in the macrobiotic diet. And I ate that way a lot of years ago when my sister got breast cancer. It was also the same year that I almost died of a colon blockage. And so at the time, the macrobiotic diet was really the diet to be done if you were trying to reverse cancer, or if you were trying to, oh gosh, why are all these people? This is another number. Okay. I am so sorry about this. It's coming through on my laptop, and I have declined it twice. All right. So we are, just in case, and I think I'm recognizing the number from one of my IT guys. Okay, we are live, so I am not going to take any calls. All right, well, I'm doing something live. And one of the things I learned during my visit to Health Fest this weekend, where I was a speaker, one of 17. You can look on their website. It just says a whole bunch of nice things that we are 70. You wouldn't know it from what I'm doing now, but one of the 17 most in demand and speakers, athletes, whatever. Okay, but you know, doing this live cooking class, it's kind of like being, well, you are a chef and you're also a television technical director, as I deal with lots of these issues. So anyway, dandelions. And so we've got the dandelions, and we are going to make them the base of the salad. Now, these are very seasonal, and you want to make sure these are young, tender dandelions. So you can tell because they're sort of bright green. And these are also organic. And you can eat the stems, because it would take you probably forever to try and take the leaves off of this stem. And but because these are rather big, we are going to cut them up. So I'm going to turn the laptop here and get you looking at all of the leaves here. And we're just going to kind of like a little lawnmower going through here. Now, by the way, don't be getting dandelions out of your yard, because even if you did not use pesticides on them, somebody else may have. And to be organic, technically the yard and even the surrounding property has to be free of pesticides. So for at least 3 years, and at least that was the last time I researched what the definition was of organic. And I know this is always changing. It's sort of a fluid kind of thing. And if you find any like damaged leaves or wilted leaves, you tear off the wilted part, and make sure, if you can, use your leftovers, what you're not eating, in a compost. And we're just getting these leaves small enough to be bite-sized. Now, some people like to have, really, I'm so sorry. I'm just declining this. Obviously, I'm going to have to try and disable the phone ringing option on my laptop. You know, it's convenient if you're on your computer and you don't happen to have your phone sitting at your side, which I almost do, but I've obviously never had somebody so persistent trying to reach me, ever. Well, at least since I've had a cell phone. All right, so we're getting the dandelion leaves all ready to be bite-sized. And that is enough of that. Okay, so, and whoever you are who's trying to call me, you got to understand that doing all this, being organized, not only from the technical standpoint, but also the recipe part of it is really kind of intense. So, so please, I don't want any distractions. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to do 2 cups of grated beets. And if there is anybody who would like to chime in on this, how many of you hate beet greens, or have you ever tried them? Now, these beet greens are part of a pretty standard beet, and if you want to just answer that in the margin, you are welcome to do that. We are going to be cutting the greens off, not going to be using them in this recipe. And now, one thing, it's actually, I'm going to wait to use the beet because I am just reminded that the beet juice gets all over everything. So we're going to go out of order here. We're going to do a 1/2 cup of grated carrots. Gosh, I wish I could ban this person, and I will eventually, but whoever you are, please stop calling. It's not that important. We can talk afterwards. All right, so. You know, I wanted to use that little banner at the bottom, but I think in future calls I will not do that. It takes up too much space. So, you know, in an ideal world, I would measure out a 1/2 cup, but I've been doing cooking classes for the better part of 35 years, and I am pretty good at figuring out what a 1/2 cup is, at least for right now. And that's really going to be about 2 or 3 carrots. So, and all of the food, all the produce we're using tonight is organic. It is from Fresh Market. They donated the food. Thank you very much. And one of the reasons I asked them to donate the food is because their food, especially the produce, really seems to be quite fresh. And you're lucky to have them relatively close, although this morning it should have taken me 10 or 15 minutes to get there. It took me 45 minutes because it's so crowded here in Florida. But it is spring break in a lot of places, so we put up with it so we can live here the rest of the year. And most of us just kind of stay inside during the snowbird season. Well, that's not completely true. All right, so we got our carrots in, and next on the list is 2 cups of grated beets. Oh yeah, let's do the celery first. Celery is going to be about a 1/2 cup, and this calls for actually celery hearts, and you can just use as much of the celery stalk as you want. You know, I don't find there's all that much difference from one end of the stalk to the other. It's mostly in the texture, and when you grind it up this way, and I'm just using my nifty little food processor here, it's kind of interesting. It does take out the fibrous threads there, and you can certainly do this with any other kind of food processor or knife, the old-fashioned knife. It's whatever works, but because I know you're in a hurry, and most of us are always in a hurry when we are conducting our normal everyday lives outside these fun little cooking classes, you want to do it quickly. So a nice sharp Kyocera knife can be something you can use as well. And we're going with the 3rd stalk of celery. And we're doing these salads tonight just because it is spring and a lot of people are focused on trying to lose weight, trying to get into that bathing suit over the summer, and now's the time to start. So I thought I'd give you a few salads, and these are low in calories, high in fiber, and will definitely get you on the program if that's something you want to do. Maybe if I accept the call and just like don't talk to it. Yeah, I have The only time I would interrupt something like this, whoever you are out there, is if you are one of my 3 daughters and my husband's in the other room. So I am not accepting any other calls at the moment. And since it came in as an unknown, for sure, I am not accepting a call during a live broadcast. And if anybody wants to say where they're from out there, you can certainly do that. Or whoever is calling me, you can certainly type a question in the margin. All right, so celery. Let's move on to the red onion. There you are. And my nifty sharp Kaiser knife is over here. And as you can see, it is ceramic and lovely. You can get these online. You can get versions of them even in grocery stores. Just not all that difficult to come up with these ceramic knives. And when they're new, of course, they are sharp as butter. They cut things just like butter. You can see how easy that was. I hope you could have seen that. Maybe the bowl is blocking the view a little. And my cutting board is sliding. It's always a challenge doing this with, let's move the bowl out of the way here. We'll put that in from a different angle. All right, now you can see. So this is my little Kyocera knife. And for the onion, I think the bigger one works better. And I haven't started crying yet, although if that annoying person calls me one more time, I may just start boo-hooing. One thing that was kind of funny when I was at Health Fest this weekend was I had occasion to talk to a fellow broadcaster. He used to work in TV. I don't remember where he was telling me, but he said, we were talking about technology and doing what I was doing. And, you know, in talking to people, I'm not aware that there's anybody else out there who's trying to do actual live cooking classes in the Google Hangout format. So he said, you know, just when you do this kind of stuff, technology is always going to have issues. And, you know, we at least have been able to get the broadcast up. So that has been a good thing. You know, I have had this function on my laptop, and I assume you all are able to hear that somebody's been trying to call. It says unknown. And I've had that function enabled for a long time, and I've just never had anybody try and call me so persistently. Whatever. All right, we're getting ready to put our red onions in our dandelion salad with beets. Oh, yes, I told you this would be something I would cry about. These are actually the same recipes I'm going to be doing this weekend at the Tallahassee Veg Fest. And this is their first Veg Fest, which is really cool. So if you live in that area and you'd like to come, that would be wonderful. And you won't need to come to my cooking demo. Or I guess I should say food demo, because I'm really not cooking. Okay. Oh, so sad. All right, back to the beets. So I was talking about beets. You know, some people really just don't like beets. Others like beet greens, and I was starting to say before that some beet greens can be very bitter, and you can, when you cook them, you can neutralize that often with balsamic vinegar or sorry, the onion is really getting to me. Let's move the Brussels sprouts away. And you can neutralize the bitterness with vinegar. However, there are some varieties of beets that are really, really delicious. And I belong to a CSA, which is a community-supported agriculture farm. It's kind of cool. And they had this kind of beet that looked like a candy cane. And when I tasted it, not only the beetroot itself, but the greens were really salty and sweet to me. And so the next weekend, I went back to the farm and I said, "What's the deal?" And they said, "Yeah, sometimes different varieties taste different to people." And so it's, if you don't like a certain vegetable or fruit, then I encourage you to just try a different one. So we are using, this is the second smallest blade. The one I used for the carrots was the smallest blade. And, oh, you know what? I forgot to peel the beet. Well, you know, some people don't mind the beet skin, but let's give it a taste. Mm. Yeah, that's fine. It's interesting. Some beet skins really have a very bitter taste, and maybe because these are fresh, I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but so you can kind of see what's left of the beet. And Snazzy the dog hears, when he hears this machine, he always shows up just in case there is a scrap left for him. So this calls for 2 cups of beets, and I would say we have, I'm guessing there, about a half cup, maybe a generous half cup in the bowl. So there you go. And we're just going to go ahead and cut the beet and get the skin off of it. It's really quite a thin skin, but that's, make sure you are seeing that. I'm trying to aim for the, again, this is such a technology issue. That's the lid, by the way, the safety lid, which you can use to protect your hands. I advise it, but with some vegetables, they're so big you really don't need it. But I'll leave that up to you. Some of these food processors don't have that kind of a protective lid, or the ones they have don't work. And as you can see, we're just getting this off. You can use, you know, an old-fashioned Cuisinart or whatever kind of food processor you have. And you can certainly use a knife. A good old-fashioned knife will do the trick as well. So we are getting the bottom root off. And I think that's, well, then we got a little bit more left on the top here. Well, that's one for you, Snaz. Hope y'all like beets. I think he gave up. Poor guy. All right, back to the blending, the processing. Well, when he hears that sound, he's here, right there, baby. Right on his foot. You can see we are getting a nice mound of beets. It's funny, when I did this 2 weeks ago, this last week, I was busy getting ready for Health Fest in Marshall, Texas, so I didn't do the 9 o'clock class like I usually do. But somebody said, you know, is this just a cooking class, or are you just demonstrating products? Well, you know, when you're doing raw stuff, you're not really cooking. And I just sort of do these. Well, first of all, I might point out, a couple of weekends ago, I went to a cooking class locally by a chef who is also a cookbook author, and he was charging like hundreds of dollars for a weekend-long cooking class. And so I'm reminding you that this is completely free. And I do this because it's fun, and I feel like it should be available to lots of people to do this. So I just give you the best of my knowledge and anything I can share with you that might be helpful. And certainly you're, let's see. Hi, Ellen, I'm a little late to the Hangout. Where did you get the dandelion greens? Were they provided by Fresh Market? Yes, Brittany, thank you for asking that. I just now saw your question. Yeah, all the food you're going to see here tonight is from Fresh Market. And the dandelion greens are somewhat seasonal. And they're not available everywhere, so just make sure your store carries them. But these look really beautiful. You also want to get, I forgot to say, you want to get young greens, and the older greens are going to taste bitter, and they aren't going to look quite as green. And you should be able to taste them, and they should be somewhat non-bitter. But if they are, we're going to add some vinegar to this, so that should neutralize any bitterness. And if you taste that bitterness, assuming that it's not something from the spoiling of the food or that it's bolted and it tastes, then it would taste bitter naturally, it should be neutralized by vinegar. And if you always feel like greens taste bitter, then that means that you have the super taster gene. So you'll always need to use some kind of vinegar when you taste. Stop calling during these live broadcasts, whoever you are. My goodness. All right. Let's go to now the, let's see if we've got everything in here. Celery, half cup of celery, half cup sliced red onions, half cup grated carrots, 2 cups grated beets, the dandelion greens, a large bunch, very fresh. So that's where we are. Now we're going to put this aside and we are going to do the dressing for it, which is 1/3 tangerine juice. Did not find tangerines. And so I'm going to use organic oranges. I thought I already had these pulled, but okay. Yeah, they're way over there. Yeah. I am using this overhead mic, and I hope it's working well. So, I'm sorry. Okay, my husband is talking to me, so I'm just going to share this with you. Clarence, I've already turned off my phone, so this is ringing through my laptop, and I can't turn it off. Yes. So for those of you who are hearing the ringing, I am getting, somebody is persistently calling me, and I'm really sorry about that. It's never happened before. All right, let's go to the tangerine juice. 1/3 cup. My measuring cup is, it already has some oil in it. You can use walnut or extra virgin olive oil, sorry. Now, here's the deal. At Health Fest this weekend, a lot of the low-fat, plant-based doctors, especially cardiologists, were there saying you should not be using added oil to recipes, especially if you have beginning stages heart disease, which most people in our country have by the age of, 4, especially if they're growing up on the standard American diet. So here's my thought. And all of us, I was on a panel discussion, we all got asked, what's your feeling on oils and fats and all that? And so here's what I say. This is going to go through a whole recipe that serves 8, 10, 12 people. So it's very spread out. And if you are an athlete like me, 7th in the US in the 1500 meters in the women's 60 to 64 age group. Yeah, and I've done 2 marathons and 8 half marathons and placed in 85 as of this past weekend, 5K races for my age group. So here's the thing. We need calories. And if we don't get enough calories, then we are really hungry. And I generally believe we should eat nuts and seeds in their natural states, the oils that Paleolithic people were not going around stomping on olives to squeeze out this oil. However, the reality is many of us grew up eating all kinds of foods, and our taste buds, it takes a while to change. And so if you want to eat a little bit of oil once in a while, it is not going to kill you, I don't think. And we have to have flavor. My co-author in Paleo Vegan is a really big proponent of added oils for flavor. And so it was decided by my publisher that Alan Redinger and I would work together, and I think his recipes are fabulous. So you just have to kind of figure out what works best for you. And you don't have to use oil in any of my recipes. It's not like it's a necessary, mandatory thing. So I just sort of wanted to share with you, just coming off of this Health Fest weekend, what the latest in the low-fat, plant-based world is. And T. Colin Campbell was the keynote speaker, as well as some other amazing cardiologists. The director of medicine for Cook County in Chicago was there, saying basically the same thing. He's a urologist and actually showed video of a penile implant surgery, which his point was, if you have to see a surgery like this beforehand, maybe you might want to change your diet first, just saying. Anyway, back to the dressing for the dandelion salad. We are using 1/3 cup of tangerine juice or whatever you can find. And these are, as you can see, very beautiful oranges. I am sure that I took off the label. You know, Fresh Market tries to get local when they can. And I don't recall where these oranges were from. Oh, yeah, Mexico, but they are organic. So I know that citrus in Florida has been struggling. We've had some neighbors and we ourselves lost our citrus tree due to greening. So I am, you know, and I travel a lot to do races, and I will see, or I used to see, a lot of citrus trucks plodding along, and I haven't seen too many of those lately. So here's our bag of organic oranges, and there you go. We'll just stick it in here. And again, if you do have any questions as we go along, please feel free. And we're almost at 1/4 cup. And this is a very juicy orange, which is what you want for a dressing. You don't want to be fighting with the pith. And probably the rest of this will be all we need. You can get the fancy squeezers and presses and all that, but it can work this way too. All right, I'm going to keep some of those seeds in there as we pour it in, hopefully. There we go. Yeah, come through. Well, you can pick them out. Or I will pick them out. And there we go. All right, next on the list, 2 tablespoons white balsamic vinegar or champagne vinegar. Now, I didn't really look for white balsamic vinegar, but you certainly can use dark balsamic vinegar and nobody will deduct points for you. But I think the point is to try and keep this a light color, and that's why the champagne vinegar is offered here. I like to show too that I'm opening up a fresh bottle, a fresh product. We aren't using any day-old vinegar here. And the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. And we'll get that right now. One. And 2 and a few extra drops. And next is 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, or this is my husband loves to get this at restaurants, Grey Poupon, but it is Dijon, just a specific variety of it. And actually, did I say tablespoons? I meant teaspoons. And my teaspoon measure has disappeared in a mobile cooking class somewhere. So this is actually a 3/4 of a teaspoon measuring spoon, and I'm just being generous with it. I'll add a little bit more. You can never have too much mustard. Oh, good. Get the microphone cord in the dressing. It's a good thing you're not really eating this. Okay. All right. vinegar, mustard, and then a 1/4 teaspoon of peppercorns. And we will salvage the 1/4 teaspoon measuring device here. There it is. Put it down here, and got a little grinder here. And my hands have gotten to be pretty wet. No cloth there. We'll go with the standby cloth here. And where did it go? There it is. All right. We're going to have a little extra pepper on the side. Okay, we'll just go in here and kind of guess, because otherwise I will be forever trying to fill up the 1/4 teaspoon measuring spoon. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Look what we've got in there. All right. So the peppercorns are in. Now we're going to do a 1/2 cup of Brazil nut cut into quarters, or I'm just going to use one of my little blade things. This is the 3rd largest, the middle blade here. And I'll attach it like this. And you can use, these are the Brazil nuts, okay? You can see these are really ginormous. Get those right up there. Those are probably the biggest nuts ever. And then if you can't find them, and sometimes these are seasonal as well, you can use cashew nuts on the other side right next to it. So you can see the difference, kind of a same color that we're going for. The Brazil nuts are very high in selenium, which is a great nutrient to have. All right, I've got the salad over there. I think what I'm going to do is drop it. No, I'm not going to do that. Let's grab a fork, and we're going to mix this dressing all up. And I'm going to try not to get this on the keyboard. You know, it's such a challenge to do these classes as a chef and also as a technical director, trying to keep an eye on what you are seeing. I can actually see what you are seeing. And we're just mixing that up nicely there. And we're going to bring back our beautiful, colorful, rainbowish salad with the basis of it. You can see it there. We're going to slide it under the processor, and we are going to pour the dressing on. And again, you do not have to use oil. You do not have to use oil. They just give you the option. And sometimes those of us who are assigned to work with co-authors, we have our conversations, and at the end of the day, we have to come to an agreement. And sometimes you win those things, and sometimes you don't. If it were up to me, I probably would have had more recipes that were lower in fat, because I do think that is the trend, and there seems to be some science on that side. I know that when I went to a low-fat, plant-based diet 10 years ago, after finding myself in the hospital a second time, I didn't learn the first time when I almost died of a colon blockage that I needed to do the low-fat thing. And to make a long story short, my cholesterol went from 130 on a vegan diet to 203 doing high-protein meat diets, because I thought that was the way to go. And then back on a vegan diet, total cholesterol is down to 150 at my ancient age. And even as active as I am, I'm still pretty sedentary during most of the day. And I'm sure if I were as active as I was when I was 28, I probably would even have better cholesterol. So there you go, all mixed up. Now we're going to put in the Brazil nuts as a garnish, and we will be done with the recipe number 1, the dandelion salads and the dandelion salad with beet. So there we go. And now, in an ideal world, I would probably grind these into a separate bowl and then just put them on the top. But as you can see, this food grinder really does the job pretty quickly, relatively speaking. And I'm just putting 3 or 4 nuts in the grinder at a time. Of course, if you had a food processor, it'd be done by now. I mean, like a traditional Cuisinart food processor, which you might be able to see on some of the other shots. It's actually just in the background there behind me. But so that I'm not moving a lot of things around, I'm just kind of keeping it simple here by using one machine. I did get a spiralizer this week in replacement for my old one, which got so covered with food juices that it just wasn't working well anymore. So I sold it at a garage sale with full disclosure. And then I went to this cooking class I told you about on our little island here. And they were using the spiralizer, and I just really liked it a lot. So I bit the bullet and spent about $30 to order a new one, which is a lot cheaper than this device, and you can really only use it for like making zucchini noodles. I mean, you can use it for other things, but they tend to not work as well, I think, as these more industrial strength food processors. Okay, so we are mixing it all up, and the nuts are in, and we are ready for a nice spring salad. And I'll get it up there for you. So there it is. Isn't that beautiful, colorful? Just really, really nice. All right, so thank you, Alan Redinger, for the inspiration. We're going to put the salad over there. We're going to change gears a little bit. We're going to go to the quick and easy Brussels sprout salad. And let's move all of those over here. I have a special bowl just for that. I'm going to move a few things out of the way from our last salad. And let me just, the microphone cord isn't long enough, so let me reach for the bowl over here. Okay, so quick and easy Brussels sprout slaw. It serves 4, and I have already removed the bottoms from the Brussels sprouts, but I've saved just a couple so I can show you. A lot of people aren't really used to working with fresh Brussels sprouts, so you know, we kind of get them frozen a lot of times if we eat them, and so you usually don't see this kind of dirty stuff or the outer stems that are dark, and you just want to cut the stem part off. Got a little beet juice on it. Oh well. And you know, if you see any kind of wilted or dark leaf, you just get rid of that. And then here's another one. You can see it has like a nice brown spot on it, brown wilted leaf. And I actually had to search for a Brussels sprout that looked bad enough that I could show you. If they're not fresh, they're going to have a little more wear and tear on them. So we're going to process these now. And I think we'll use the same blade we used for the nuts, or not. Yeah, these are pretty big Brussels sprouts. So the idea here is we're going to make these like slaw. And again, you can certainly use a regular old-fashioned knife. And this is the 3rd largest blade. And it's really kind of, I think I am going to switch. It's this is the 4th largest blade. So let's see what it does. Yeah, that's more slaw looking. And these are going to be sliced more horizontally, kind of like you would with a knife. And as these get sliced, because they're kind of like miniature cabbages, as you cut them, they're going to fall apart in as if you were almost using a knife. I'm a big fan of eating raw salads, no matter what time of year it is. And when I was on the Health Fest panel, the final panel, with Chef AJ and Rich Roll and Gene Bauer, who is president of Farm Sanctuary. We were all asked what our favorite meals were, what we generally ate, and almost all of us said we ate oats in the morning, and then the other answer was we eat big salads for lunch and dinner. So sometimes it's just nice to kind of change it up a little bit with the kind of salads you eat. It's just kind of monotonous if you're sticking to the same romaine, carrots, radishes, tomatoes. I mean, how many of those? I mean, they're all good, but just to get this kind of variety is, I think, important, not only if you're going to be eating vegan for the rest of your life, to get all kinds of different antioxidants and nutrients. Just have to really spice it up, mix it up. So we just have 2 more Brussels sprouts to go. All right. Just clean out the inside of the blade. And next we're going to add a Granny Smith apple. That is this very big green thing. And actually, you don't even need to cut it because I'll just put on a blade. And let's go with this blade for the apple. So what you want to do is not get to the center seeds. So you just imagine the core of the apple is somewhere in there. And you just keep rotating the apple around. And then when you get to the last side, you can go in a little bit more. And again, the old-fashioned knives will work just as well. But there you go. Now, there was some discussion at Health Fest this week, and somebody was saying that they actually use a whole apple in a Vitamix, but I would not recommend that. The seeds have cyanide in them. Not that you could die from eating them, but it's just not something that I would encourage doing. All right, so now we're going to make the dressing for the Brussels sprout slaw, and we have already started with some miso. Now the recipe calls for mellow white miso. That's what this dark stuff is. Obviously it is not mellow or white. But if you can't find white miso, which is very difficult to find unless you go to a health food store, it's totally fine to use the dark miso. All right. 2 tablespoons of peeled fresh ginger, which is what I've done there. And again, we are going to change bowls. And, you know, you could use a knife to cut the ginger, but in the interest of time, we are going to use the small shredding blade. And that is, of course, if I can find it. All right, that one has beets all over it, so, oh, in the sink, great. All right, stand by while I take off the microphone, and I am going to wash the blades. I want you to see, you know, again, how easy this is. Bring this over here. So you just wash it off like that. All right, we're back with the microphone. I don't know if you could hear me, but the blades that just pop off like that, and they're really easy to wash. All right, so now we're going to process the ginger, and let's see. 2 tablespoons is what we're generally going for. So again, I can kind of eyeball what is 2 tablespoons. You can be more precise if you're measuring this at home. And right now it is getting on the inside, and even though the outside of this blade is very sharp, you can reach inside and get the goodies. Now, it's interesting, this particular blade has really gotten the fibrous part of the ginger on the outside, and that's not what is actually going into the recipe itself. But as you can see, again, it really does, like with the celery that we saw earlier, it removes the fibrous material that you may or may not want to eat. Fresh ginger is wonderful. Some of the best tea I've ever had was just boiled water over some fresh ginger slices. And ginger is an anti-inflammatory, and I always mention that when I do classes because a vegan diet itself is very anti-inflammatory and wonderful. And it's good for whatever ails you, as they like to say. Okay, so we have the ginger, and we have, we're going to put in the zest of 2 lemons. Actually, the recipe calls for the grated zest of 2 lemons, but I just realized these lemons are not organic. So I generally do not put in non-organic zest, or use the skin that is going to be might have pesticides on it in the salad. What I am going to do, because I bought one of these, and I must confess I saw it used elsewhere and I haven't used it myself, so I'm going to try it tonight. I shouldn't do this on live TV, but why not? So I think we'll put it in here like this. And then we're just going to squeeze it, and let's see what happens. Oh, is that cool or what? Wow, I hope you can see that. Let's do the instant replay. Okay, that really did a wonderful number. Wow, look at that. It really got the inside out. All right, we're going to put that just so you can see this here. So the lemon is in the outer casing, and this comes like in 2 sizes, but I think that inside part, the green part, is just too small. In other words, I could have put the lemon in there, but I'm putting it in the outer one, and it just doubles over, and we're going to squeeze it like that. Oh yeah. And see, some people really like lemon zest, and it's kind of a different taste than the actual lemon juice. I am totally fine with just the juice of the lemon. I'm not a sour person anyway, as you can probably tell. So next we are, recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of flax oil, but we're just actually going to use a little olive oil, not much, just to give it a little more fluid. And again, you do not have to use the olive oil. Grabbing a fork, and we're going to, no, that's a spoon. Let's try the fork. All right, we are going to mix it up. And get all that ginger off the side. You could put this in a blender. You could. You never want to cook miso. You can add just boiled water to it, but it has wonderful beneficial enzymes. So cooking it destroys that. And again, we're just kind of making this into a nice dressing to put over the slaw. All right, I'm going to put this down just because it's easier to do this on a firm surface rather than my just holding it up in the air. And it probably does need just a little bit more oil, because if I try and put this on the Brussels sprout concoction, it's going to lump up and be difficult to spread. So that's another reason to add oil. You could certainly add water or more vinegar, or some vinegar. This actually doesn't have vinegar in it. You could add another lemon if you wanted to do that. But as you can see, that's the dressing. It's kind of dark, so if we use the white miso, it would not be, it would really enhance the colors of the apples and the Brussels sprouts versus what's gonna happen when, like you see when we mix it. It's really going to be more of a contrasting color, a blended color to what we've got. Not, no judgment there. It is what it is. All right, so we're gonna mix this up and just make sure I got everything in it. I do. Oh, the fennel bulb. Oh, we forgot the fennel bulb. Okay, so this is fennel. I probably not so subconsciously eliminated that because fennel is one of those vegetables you gotta love. To me, it smells and tastes a little bit like licorice, and I personally don't like licorice, but if you do, you'll love this recipe. Now, this is what the inside looks like. And the interesting thing, though, is when you put it in this recipe, it doesn't really taste like licorice. I think the vinegar and the other things that blend in with it kind of disguise the taste. So we're just going to move the bowl under here. And oh, you need to like take out the centers of the fennel as well. Yeah. So you can just make a little triangle and that'll do it. Not a big deal if you don't. It's just very hard. It's a very hard core. So it's not like a celery heart where that's the desirable part. With the fennel, it's just kind of hard. So, so I'm just gonna taste it here. Yeah. So I don't know if you can hear, but that's just not something you probably would want to put in the salad. Not a big deal if you do, but that's called coring the fennel. What I just did, and I actually think the fennel has broken apart, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my knife to cut these parts and get them into the salad. Oops. One for the snaz dog. All right. I purposely got a small fennel because, again, it can overpower this, and so using smaller portions can help not to overpower it. And you can continue to cut all the way up to the top of the fennel, but we will probably just use these little sprigs for decoration. All right, now we can mix it up. We are almost getting to the end of the evening, so if you have any questions, please feel free. Now is the time to ask them. I really wanted this just to be not only a cooking class, but a hangout for vegans to come together, ask questions. I'm a certified personal trainer and running coach. So if you have any questions about that, how to start your spring program, please feel free. And you just want to make sure your dressing is nicely mixed with the Brussels sprouts. So even with that dark colored miso, it is a nice blend of the dressing with the wonderful cruciferous vegetable Brussels sprouts, known for its anti-cancer fighting properties, according to many of the doctors, dietitians who are members of Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. I always like to quote programs like that because it's not just me talking. these are the programs I follow, I use with my clients for personal training and cooking classes that I've done over the years. So there you go. The dark miso actually adds kind of a rich flavor to it. And if we had a towel here, which I will get momentarily as I reach over in front of the camera here. So once you have all your Brussels sprout parts into the salad bowl, we are going to wipe the edges clean and put a little sprig of fennel here and there just for a little gourmet decoration. And that miso, I could do a better job of this, but just in the interest of time, you can see, I think, what we're trying to get going here. So I will move the camera lens and hopefully not drop the salad on the keyboard, as hungry as the keyboard is. So there is your quick and easy Brussels sprout slaw. And I don't know about you, but I could live off of that salad forever. All right, well, that is the end of the recipes, and I hope you have enjoyed this here. And if you have any other questions, it is 10:01 according to my clock. Now I know that we're on a 2-minute time delay, but if you have any other questions, now's the time to put it in. Oh, thank you, Paul Kelly, you rock. Thanks for another great show. The salad really looks good. You're a great example of how one constructively works to enlighten the public. Okay, well, you know, we try. And as always, it's quite a challenge trying to do, being the technical director, keeping an eye on the camera to make sure you see what I am seeing and that you can see what I'm doing, and be the chef as well. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening. And this will be rebroadcast on my YouTube channel as well. If you have any questions, find me at vegcoach.com or any of my different Facebook pages. Each of my books, Eat Vegan on $4 a Day, Kitchen Divided, and Paleo Vegan, the middle child there. They all have individual Facebooks, and I also have a coaching and cooking with me. So find me there. I'm always available to answer any questions that you might have. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and have a great evening. Gotta run.